Hey friends, what's up? It's Jeff Morgan, the guilt-free vegan here. Well, he's back with even more science and evidence-based facts on nutrition. And when it comes to your health and the health of your family, this man does not play around. Dr. Michael Greger, New York Times best-selling author, physician, internationally recognized speaker on the topics of nutrition, food safety, and public health issues. And in December 2015, released his best-selling book, How Not to Die, which is a must-read. His website, nutritionfacts.org, is a goldmine of science and evidence based on thousands of scientific and reputable studies. So here he is on Guilt-Free Vegan to talk about some of the most important health issues of our time.
The doc is in the house once again. So nice to have you back. It was awesome seeing you in Tel Aviv. Don't we have the best hummus and dates out here?
You have the best hummus in the world.
How you feeling after your world tour?
I've recuperated.
Good.
I've since recovered. I just got a link today from the folks in Great Britain. They did a great job filming this talk. And so I'm gonna post a link soon. In fact, I could post it now, and you could put it up. What do you think?
I'll definitely put it up.
Hold on,
Sure.
let me find it. I'm so impressed about it. In fact, I'm doing a big email blast this Thursday, and I'm gonna tell people there. But look, you can scoop it here. It was done just professionally edited. It was a great room, great audience. Multiple angles. I'm really happy with it. So it's similar to the talk I gave in Tel Aviv.
I'm looking at it. Okay, I'm going to post that down in the description box below so people can click on it and see it. I'm definitely going to go see it. So let's do this because I know the viewers are anxious to hear your answers to their questions, and they hear me talk enough. Some people believe that combining certain foods makes digestion difficult and may impair digestive processes. For instance, don't eat fruit with more complex carbs or protein because fruit is a quickly digested food that shouldn't stay in the stomach as long as other foods may need to. What do you say on this topic?
But does that make any sense? Like evolutionarily, right? I mean, do you think like monkeys ate some fruit and then waited a couple hours before eating some leaves? I mean, it just makes absolutely no sense physiologically, biologically. I mean, so it's just, as far as I'm concerned, one of these silly myths that came out in some book a long time ago, propagated around the internet. But has anyone actually cited a source? Like, I mean, it's the easy experiment to do in the world. You could have people, take a couple people, feed them different stuff, measure all sorts of different stuff. As far as I know, no study's ever been done. If you find one, let me know. Be happy to check it out. I'll do a video on it. But I encourage your viewers to not believe a damn word they read or hear without it being backed up by science. Now, if we're talking about a review of your favorite toothpaste or movie or rock band, you don't need evidence, right? Everyone has their opinion. But opinion and belief has no role when it comes to something as critically important as your family's health.
Fantastic.
Right? You just kind of read something and be like, oh, I should feed my kids blank today. Right?
Right.
Without the source. And then checking the source. It's not enough to have a source. You want to look, were they born, whoever's telling you this knowledge, were they born with that knowledge? No. So they learned it someplace. Why are they not telling you where they learned it? Now, if they're saying they experimented on themselves, they feel better when they don't mix different foods, well, then they should tell you that, right? Or if they have science to back it up, they should point you to that. They should give a link to it. That's why you go to my website, you go to nutritionfacts.org. You don't even see me. What you see is the study. There it is. There's the graph. There's the chart. There's the quote. There's the link in the sources site. You can click on it, download the PDF, make sure I didn't take anything out of context. It's all right there. Don't listen to me. Listen to the science.
Right on. Yeah, I've learned a lot from your nutritionfacts.org website. It's been invaluable to me and my family, so thank you for that. I want to talk for a second about the show The Biggest Loser. I don't know if you're familiar with it, television reality show where people compete to lose as much weight through diet change and exercise that they possibly can while on the show. It's been a lot in the news lately about how most people in the show, they gain their weight back And it's been said that it's because their metabolism is slower by the end of the show and that they have some sort of metabolic damage. Do you have anything to say regarding people that suffer from obesity, lose a lot of weight, and have a hard time keeping the weight off?
That's a good question. Yeah, I know there was a New York Times article about a recent publication. I've downloaded that publication. It's sitting in my obesity folder. So I have about 300 topics that I keep an eye on. So obesity is one of them. I'm looking at it now. But I think what we've learned in the past is that this kind of metabolic adaptation is really a myth,
Mm.
and that so there's this concept that your like metabolism slows down. That does not that historically the literature has not shown that. You put people in this kind of fancy equipment, and basically your basic biological processes take as much energy as they do now as they did before you lost the weight. Your body is a really efficient machine. I mean, it doesn't make sense that we'd have such a vast difference. Now, I mean, it makes sense that our body should try to maintain its weight. Why? Because we evolved in the context of famine, right? We evolved for millions of years where there wasn't a convenience store, and the biggest problem was not getting enough calories.
Hmm.
And so in that, so your body tries its best to hold on to calories as much as possible to get you not to lose weight, to pack on pounds. That's why we actually have fat stores,
Hmm.
right? It's because then we can build up. If all of a sudden we find this fruit tree in bloom, we can build up as many calories as possible and hold on when all of a sudden there's less food around. So certainly, I mean, the body is trying to hold on as much as possible. But it would make sense, again, not reading the article, either the lay press or scientific article about the Grace Liver program, never seen the program, but would make sense if for some TV program you did some crazy diet or fasted. I mean,
Right.
anyone can lose weight; they just don't eat. Then, by definition, that's not sustainable, right? Okay,
Right.
then the TV show ends. You go back to if you go back to your old habits that made you fat in the first place, you'll get fat again. Like
Right.
it's right. I mean, so
Habitual more
fasting
so.
is by definition unsustainable. That's why diets don't work because kind of by definition you go on a diet, you go off a diet. That's why diet, no, it's lifestyle. You
Right.
have to choose a lifestyle, that a way of eating and living that you can live with the rest of your life. Anyone can eat anything or not eat anything for a few days, a few weeks, right? But you got to be able to stick with it forever. And so it's like, wait a second. Okay, what changes can I make in my diet that I can do until I die? Right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, well, so then, okay, I can't starve myself. I can't eat some crazy fad diet. I can't eat, right? What
Right.
I can do is I can add whole healthy plant foods to my diet, packed with fiber, packed with water, components that fill you up but have no calories, and then I'll do all sorts of wonderful things in the gut, and etc. I've got a lot of videos
Right.
on obesity and weight loss, etc. But I mean, it would make total sense. It's like saying people that diet gain weight back when they stop dieting. That's news.
There you go. Bingo. Now, there's a lot of talk regarding genetically modified organisms or GMOs. I'd like to know if GMO equals BAD in all cases. I mean, if something is genetically modified, does it automatically render it unhealthy or bad?
No. Why would it? So we can look at what's been genetically modified so far.
Right.
Soy, canola, sugar beets, for example, in the States are genetically modified. And so, I mean, if there's been no deleterious human health effects that have been tied to GMO so far. There's no science. Now there's non-human animal data, but I'm a veterinarian that's very limited. I only know one species, people.
Right.
So maybe you don't want to feed GMO foods to your pet rat or something. But in
Right.
terms of people, we have no human data now. The additional pesticide burden. So most of the GMO crops that are commercialized, right? They do it for profit, not to make anything healthier, obviously. And so what they make, so most of the crops now are pesticide resistant. They're
Mm.
genetically modified to be pesticide resistant, which means, excuse me, herbicide resistant. So you can basically spray herbicide on the crops as they grow, kill off everything else, and the GMO crops continue to grow. So with conventional soy, for example, you can only spray an herbicide between crops, right? I mean, so you grow soybeans, you pick all the soybeans, and then you spray herbicides and you kill off all the plant growth, and then you plant new seeds, and then okay. And so you have very limited herbicide application. But if you have genetically modified plants that resist that herbicide, you can coat your fields every day with herbicide. You can just blanket the place
Mm.
because the doesn't hurt the soy plants. And in doing so, you actually have higher levels of these herbicides in store-bought GMO soy.
Mm.
Now, most of GMO soy, you don't buy it in the store. It's fed to farm animals.
Right.
But it has higher levels of these residues, these pesticide residues, than non-GMO or organic. Both have little or none because they don't spray when the plant is actually growing.
Okay.
And so because of that, I encourage people to choose non-GMO soy. So organic soy, by definition here in the States, can't be genetically modified, but that's to reduce the pesticide burden, not because there's anything about the kind of altered genetics that we know to be harmful.
Okay, that makes sense. That's a good point. And now we got into soy. It's one of my questions down the line, but I'm just going to ask it right now anyway. So, in our last interview, we discussed soy with regards to women and breast cancer. But I want to talk this time about men, manly men, about man boobs or in scientific terms, gynecomastia. Does soy have a feminizing effect on men and lower libido? If this were true, well, I mean, if it were true, I'd have double D's by now and be avoiding my wife. But the opposite is the case. I mean, clear things up for the men out there.
So, well, I mean, there are two case reports in the medical literature of feminizing effects of soy consumption. They were at massive amounts of soy. Here, I was just looking at those. I'm doing a series of videos on soy, and so it's probably the best review is in a journal called Fertility and Sterility. The title is Soybean Exposure Does Not Have Feminizing Effects on Men. And so but that's in general. But look, you can't overdo it. So there's two papers. Trying to look at the quantity here. Here, let me pull that up. In fact, in this volume, I have some videos coming up on the phytoestrogens in beer. Actually, the hops have very powerful phytoestrogens, more so than soy. And I talk a little bit about that. Let me see. Because I just want to get a sense of how much. There we go. How much soy these men were eating. Yeah, two case reports, feminizing effects, 14 to 20 servings of soy a day, soy foods a day. So 14 to 20 servings of soy food a day is not a good idea. But at reasonable doses, even higher than the 1 to 2 servings a day you see in populations like Japanese, they do not have feminizing effects. So let me see, 20 servings. So that's like if you ate 5 liters, so over a gallon of soy milk a day, for example,
Wow.
that could have feminizing effects. So it's the dose that makes the poison.
Yeah.
But at typical doses, no feminizing effects, and actually beneficial effects like reducing risk of prostate cancer, etc.
Wonderful. Can you talk about the difference between dietary fat and essential fatty acids? I think a lot of people are confused about the difference between eating healthy fats and getting their essential fatty acids.
Okay, there's 2 essential fats. And so what do I mean by essential fats? That means that we actually take them into our diet. We don't make them.
Right.
Our body can make lots of stuff. But there are some things that we don't make, and so we have to get them into our diet. So, for example, vitamins, our body can't make vitamins. We need to take them into our diet. So for example, most animals can actually make vitamin C, actually produce within their body. In fact, we have the gene that makes vitamin C, but our body junked it because we evolved to get massive amounts of vitamin C in our diet because we eat lots of plants just like our fellow great apes. So our body's like, what am I doing making vitamin C when all I'm doing is eat fruit and greens all day? and just getting massive amounts, and so our body junked it, etc. Okay, so now we need to take vitamin C in our diet, or we get scurvy. So, which is a vitamin C deficiency disease and could actually kill us if we didn't get vitamin C for a long enough period. Okay, so there are two types of fat. There's two classes of fatty acids that are essential, meaning our body can't make them. One is a group is omega-3 fats, another is omega-6 fats. Both of those are made by plants, and so but the certain particular plants, omega-6s are everywhere. We don't have to worry about getting enough of them. We didn't even know that omega-6s were essential until we actually started doing, actually we didn't know any fats were essential until we actually did something called parenteral nutrition, where we tried to feed people by vein. So for example, there was actually, do I have a video? I have a video, I think, coming up about this. It's just fascinating. So it was really late. So we learned about vitamins a long time ago. Last vitamin discovered, vitamin B12, over 50 years ago, right? We pretty much got all the vitamins. But it was really controversial whether any fats were essential until this really tragic case of this young girl who I believe suffered a shotgun blast to the abdomen, and so lost her gut. And so you lose your gut, you're dead, right? But she was an experiment. They were like, okay, she's going to die anyway. So let's see if we can give her everything she needs. Look, we know all the vitamins, we know all the minerals. Let's make a solution of all the vitamins, all the minerals, and actually feed it, and sugar and everything she needs, and put it through her vein, right? So total parenteral nutrition. So all nutrition in an IV to save her life. And she developed this really weird disease, which we later learned to be fatty acid deficiency. Because we didn't think she needed fats. She needed calories, vitamins, and minerals. What else she need, right? Then so that was actually that case. And we're like, oh, wow. And then I think they gave her some soybean oil. And that has some omega-3s in it and omega-6s, and it cured her deficiency. And we're like, oh, wow, we need fats. Anyway, so what does that mean? It means that, again, we don't have to worry about omega-6s, found everywhere. But omega-3s I found concentrated in a few foods. Flax seeds, walnuts, hemp seeds, chia seeds, dark green leafy vegetables have a high percentage, but they have such little fat that even if it was all omega-3, you'd have to eat, a wheelbarrow full of greens, which is, of course, what I recommend. But, so that's why I encourage people to eat a tablespoon of ground flax every day as part of my daily dozen to get, in part, to get their omega-3s, although it has lots of other wonderful things in it. You can also do it eating walnuts, whatever. But I encourage people to include these healthy omega-3 rich foods in their diet.
Great. Well, when you were delivering your lecture here in Tel Aviv, you spoke about how a plant-based diet relates to dental health. And then I realized that my kids, who are 4 and 7, and they've been on a plant-based diet for 2 years, are the only ones in their circle of friends that don't have cavities. And I have a really close friend who's a dentist. And when I told him about this, he asked, well, could it be because of the diet? And I said, well, I'm pretty sure it is. But how does a plant-based diet help people avoid the dentist drill?
So I got a few videos. If you just type in dental or, into nutritionfacts.org, all those videos will come up. And so people eating plant-based diets have lower rates of cavities, but that may be because they're just eating healthier diets. So, people who tend to be eating plant-based diets tend to be concerned about their health, and so tend to avoid, sugary foods that can, rot their teeth. And so, they're drinking less soda, they're eating less candy. And so if your kids are eating less candy as part of this overall healthy lifestyle, then that may certainly explain. But there are other things like periodontal health, gum health,
right,
that has to do with inflammation and other things. And so the fact that people eating plant-based diets have better gum health, that may be a matter of an anti-inflammatory diet beyond. So it's actually not just what's physically in contact with our teeth.
Right.
The only concern with dental health for those eating plant-based diets is an erosion of people's enamel if they eat lots of really sour foods without
Hmm.
rinsing their mouth out.
Okay.
So if you ate a lot of citrus fruits, drank a lot of sour tea, like the tea I love, hibiscus tea, very
Yeah, me too.
sour tea. So sour drinks and foods can erode one's enamel. So, but you don't avoid those healthy foods. Well, all you do is you rinse your mouth out with water after you eat or drink them.
Hmm.
So, if you ate an orange right now, then what you'd want to do is rinse your mouth out with water. Now, what some people do, which is wrong, is they eat something sour. Right, they brush their teeth. That's the worst thing to do right after eating an orange because your enamel is softened by the acid.
Okay.
And so then all of a sudden you start brushing that softened enamel. You're losing. That's the way to really lose your teeth. So
Gotcha.
you just rinse with water.
Yeah.
So you wait a half hour, an hour, then you can brush.
Okay.
But yeah, just rinse it with water, and then you got the best of both worlds.
Fantastic. Well, there are doctors at weight loss clinics telling people to stop eating fruit to lose weight and that they can get all the phytonutrients they need from vegetables. Is there any truth to this?
Can you get all your phytonutrients from vegetables? Maybe. I'm trying to think. Well, you can't get all, but you may be able to get all that you need. But certainly should not stop eating fruit. So the number one risk factor for death in the world, number one dietary risk factor for death in the world, is not eating enough fruit. So not eating enough fruit kills more people in this world than eating processed meat, than
No
eating.
way.
So this is the Global Burden of Disease Study, largest study of risk factors in human history, funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Number one dietary risk factor, right, was not eating enough fruit.
Wow.
So we have this tremendous body of evidence that fruit's one of the healthiest things. In fact, evolutionarily, we're more frugivorous than anything else.
Yeah.
Our bodies were made to eat fruit. So, for example, the fact that we don't have vitamin C,
Yep.
that gives us a sense of we eat lots of fruit all day.
Yeah.
Really, now there's vitamin C found throughout the plant kingdom, but and it just doesn't make sense in terms of weight loss, right? Fruit is packed with fiber and water, both of which have 0 calories, and packed with nutrition. Like it just doesn't make any
Yeah, I
sense,
love what you
right?
said when you were speaking about, is it a lollipop or lentils when in terms of carbohydrates? People are so afraid of the sugar, but you're not talking about refined sugar that's placed in candy bars. You're talking about a piece of fruit that's packed with, fiber and phytonutrients and vitamins, minerals.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, that really answers the question. I mean, so many people are so worried about that, and that kind of leads me into my next question. Yeah,
In fact, I have a video like how much fruit is too much. There were these studies where people had like 20 servings of fruit a day,
I saw that video. Yeah,
right? And they didn't gain weight. They did nothing happened to their liver. Their blood pressure was fine. Like all the things you worry about eating too much sugar.
totally. Now, this is like the opposite side of the spectrum. Should people on a plant-based diet that eat a large amount of fruit and vegetables ever be concerned about like vitamin overload? I mean, you can easily pass your daily requirements for things like potassium, folate, vitamin A, manganese by eating a variety of plant foods in really large amounts.
I would love to see even people make the minimum potassium. The minimum potassium, 4,400 milligrams a day. 98% of Americans, at least, don't even reach the minimum. You'd have to eat massive amounts of plant foods to even
Right.
reach that minimum.
Right.
I would love to see more people do that. The only time you have to worry about getting too many nutrients is in kind of supplement form.
Hmm.
So in supplements, God, you can get toxic doses, particularly some of the fat-soluble vitamins, since our body has more difficulty getting rid of them. But not something I have to worry about eating plant foods. I mean, again, in reasonable quantities, but I'm trying to
Yeah.
think. So I did a video about the manganese hibiscus tea saying you probably don't want to drink more than a quart of hibiscus tea.
Right.
All right. If you ate a lot of carrot juice, you can turn orange. Your palms can turn
True.
orange.
True.
I mean, which is totally benign. I mean,
Right.
it doesn't hurt you, but it looks a little weird.
Right.
Um, but even then, you'd really have to do it with carrot juice. It's hard to eat that many carrots, whole
Totally.
foods,
Totally.
and still turn orange. Although I bet you could. Um, but
Right.
again, it's not harmful. It's just cosmetically, it's a little weird.
Yeah, some people do that when they want to appear more tan. Anyway, this
Yep.
next question is about vitamin B12 in kids. I take those 1,000 microgram cyanocobalamin, sublingual supplements. Now I give the same supplement to my kids, but I break it into halves and quarters because simply they're smaller people. Now, how much
Yep.
should parents be giving their plant-based little ones, and how often?
You don't have to worry about getting too much because it's water soluble. You just pee it out. But for kids, there is so 48 years old. It is the RDA in the States is 1.2 micrograms. So if you had 2 doses of 500 a week, they would be more than that. That'd be more than enough. So
Okay.
half of those tablets twice a week, all the B12 they need.
Great, great. Well, last question, because I know you got to run. I have a question about iodine. I know
Yeah.
iodine is found in sufficient amounts in sea vegetables, but most people, at least in the West, they don't eat sea vegetables regularly or not at all. Is this something people should be concerned about? Supplement through iodized salt or whatnot?
So no to iodized salt. If you use salt, then use iodized salt, but no one should be adding salt to foods. The iodine is also found in fruits, vegetables, grains, beans, regular plant foods, but it depends on how much iodine is in the soil.
Mm,
So whether or not your beans have iodine in it depends if they were grown in iodine-rich soil. And so some soils around the world has low in iodine. Who knows where the food you came from, right? And so that's why I encourage, particularly pregnant women, to make sure they get a regular, reliable source of iodine. Actually, so the current recommendations for women from the Endocrine Society here is that all pregnant women should be supplementing with 150 micrograms of iodine every day. But it's a good idea for everyone to ensure they're getting iodine from somewhere. So, yeah, you're probably getting your plant foods, but I encourage people to develop a taste for sea vegetables. If you don't like sea, so there's all these like nori snacks,
right.
these nori sheets you can chew on.
Yeah, I love those.
There's dulse, is a kind of this purple seaweed that's often powdered. You get these dulse flakes.
Hmm.
It's a very mild tasting for people who don't like seaweedy taste. Very mild, so you can sprinkle that on foods. You get all the iodine you need. Certain brands, so Eden brand beans have a little piece of kelp added to them,
Okay.
and that uh, also known as kombu. That's what you see on the recipe on the ingredients list. That has all the. So if you choose canned beans, you get that kind of brand of beans. You can get all the iodine you need.
Okay.
So yeah, it's something that particularly pregnant women should ensure. All pregnant women, because the other place one would get iodine is from seafood, from from fish,
Right.
etc. And of course, we don't particularly we don't want pregnant women eating polluted food.
Right.
And so, where do you get a pollutant-free source of iodine? You get it from sea vegetables and these other sources.
Yeah. Well, that's
And look,
great.
if you want to take a supplement, you can take a supplement.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, Dr. Greger, your book, How Not to Die, I've been, posting it everywhere and turning as many people onto it as I possibly can.
Great.
It's been a pleasure having you here. You're a great man with a big heart, and your presence here on Guilt Free Vegan is absolute gold. Thank you, Dr. Greger, for being here.
Absolutely, so happy. And the Hebrew version was actually the first foreign language version to be published. So I
Wow.
was really excited that that's out. And so, yeah, please
Yeah,
spread the word.
people were loving you out here for sure. So yes, I'll spread the
Excellent.
word. Thanks again, and I'm sure we'll be in touch once again in the future.
Great. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
Take care.
You can find all the links down in the description